another Cheltenham preview with me, Daryl Carter, for CheltenhamFestival.net. This week it's the turn of the RSA, a race I'm really looking forward to. One of my favourite horses in training is in this race, and I'm really excited. Heart over head perhaps, but we'll find out in a minute. Few 10-year stats and trends to throw at you. 7-year-olds have dominated the race. The only 8-year-old to win this has been Mike Boyd in the last 10 years, and Don Poley, the only 6-year-olds. Favourites have been successful only 3 times in the past 10 years, and that includes the 8-year-old and 6-year-old. So, if they're 8 and 6 and they're favourite, don't worry about the age. Britain and Ireland have come out very evenly, both winning this race 5 times each in the past 10 years. So, there's no dominance there. And the average official rating is 151 to win this race. So, really excited for this. Cannot wait. Most of you that follow me know who my favourite horse is. He heads the market. He's an 8-year-old. He's Champ. Cannot wait to see him. Things haven't quite gone to plan this season. In his first run at Newbury, he beat Daryl Carter in his novice chase debut, the beginner's chase debut. Really won nicely. Just came clear readily. He's got such an engine. He's such a talented horse. He then went back out at Newbury next time against the likes of Black Op, Daryl Carter, Montezavois, and Vision to Flow, and Daryl Carter again, who unseated at the first fence. But Champ came out on top, but it wasn't easy. He was off the bridle before the last fence, jumped the final fence, got his motor going, steamed home. Barry Gary had to pull him to keep him in the track because he was going to go out for another circuit. Not the horse's fault, I don't think. If you watch very, very closely, I think the horse sort of was leaning his head towards the way he should have been going. And he showed incredible agility to get round the rail in front of Black Op and run out a ready winner by 1 3/4 lengths, going away to finish. Any horse that's able to do that is some talent. Black Op's rated 152. So I think Champ is much better than his official rating of 153 at the moment. It didn't go to plan the last time we've seen him. Now, he ran in the Dipper novices chase at Cheltenham, getting some Cheltenham course experience, a valuable grade 2 race, and he was coming miles clear, 4 or 5 lengths up, and fell 2 from home. Now, there was a lot of controversy about this. Barry Gary was taking a look behind him, having a look at his rivals, and he just let Champ run down the fence, and he just clattered it and went over. Now, hopefully, he would have learned from that. Now, it's not ideal going into the back of this race on the back of a fall, but I think he may have learned a thing or two from that. He does go well fresh enough. That was the 1st of January, that race, New Year's Day. So he's going to come here pretty fresh for this race. Hopefully they'll do a lot of schooling with him over his fences, because he can make a fair few mistakes. But he makes his mistakes when he's allowed to make up his own mind, when he's allowed to just run down the fence. That's when he makes his errors. I hope to God that Barry Gary can teach him, even in the RSA, what he wants him to do, because he is going to need to be finding strides at every single fence. He is undoubtedly the most talented horse in this field, in my opinion. I think he's got a massive engine, and I think it's the fences that are going to be his biggest danger in this. And that's no disrespect to any of the other runners. I just think so highly of this horse and what he's done previously. Second in the Ballymore last year, but has that novice chase course form. So despite falling, so I think if he jumps around, he wins this race for me. He's 7-2 at the head of the market. That's a pretty fair price considering what we've seen with him this season. Mandela Endo is next in at 9-2. A little bit of support come from Mandela Endo this week. 4 figures of 1-2 won this his last 3 starts, including at Punchestown when he won the Daily Mirror Novice Hurdle Grade 1 race on the back of his Cheltenham win last term in the Albert Bartlett. Really nice horse. If you watched the Albert Bartlett last year, he was a very worthy winner. He pulled Rachel Blackwell's arms out for the whole circuit and came home, or the whole 2 circuits, and came home very strongly. He's definitely got a talent. Have I been impressed with him over fences? Not really. He was beaten by 8 lengths by Lorena on first start of the season over a trip far too short, 2.5 miles on heavy ground at Goran. I think he's a very good horse. I'm just I'm just not really overexcited by him. He came out and Navan next time over 3 miles, and he got the job done, albeit in workmanlike fashion. Beating Captain CJ on first approach. Both of those horses went on to run well next time. Captain CJ won, but they beat a 135 rated horse. I'm not entirely sure the form was boosted, if you like, considering the opponents that they were facing that day. But he's a lovely type nonetheless. We know he handles Cheltenham. We know he goes well here. So he's a lovely horse, a worthy opponent, if you like. Aloha, next in at the market, 7-1. Again, another that's been supported this week. 10-1's in the 7. Likely because we're starting to learn where these horses are actually going to go. There's talk of Aloha going to the Marsh Novices Chase or the RSA. Perhaps they've decided to go here. This horse been behind Mandela Endo the last twice over at Cheltenham and at that Punchestown race we mentioned earlier. Came out twice this year, was beaten by Easy Game by 1 3/4 lengths on seasonal return. Perhaps needed the run, just tired at the end of the race, but then sort of rallied a little bit close home. Went out Fairy House next time, won by 21 lengths. Really jumped impressively that day. The highest rated horse I believe he's beaten is Walk Away, who's rated 136. Milan Native around 136 or 7 or 8 maybe as well. But he did that pretty easily, jumped really nicely that day, and just galloped him. He's not really a flashy type. He doesn't really scream like he's going to be a superstar, but he gets the job done nevertheless. He's going to need to improve on everything he's done though to beat the 2 at the top of the market. Copperhead is next in at 8-1. Won his last 3 starts, including being impressive at the weekend at Ascot when he won the Reynoldstown Novice Chase, beating 2 for Gold, Danny Whizbang. The 2 disappointments in that race, though, were Sam Brown and Pim. Perhaps that race fell apart a little bit. I'm not entirely sure that form is totally reliable. I think he wants a lot further. I think if he goes to the National Hunt Chase, he could have a say in matters at the finish. RSA may just prove too hot of a contest for him. He is rapidly improving, but you do have to remember, you know, this time last year in February, he was rated 116. So, you know, it's very difficult to assume that all of this rapid improvement in his last 2 starts is believable. Back at Newbury, previous to the Ascot run on Saturday, Copperhead beat Moving in Style by 3 1/4 lengths. Now, he did it quite well, but that horse is only rated 118 and has failed to win off that mark since. I think he will win off that mark, but I think he's failed to win off that mark since. So, you know, don't believe everything. It's very difficult to explain a horse's rapid progression in just 2 starts. Previous to that, he beat Finger on the Switch by 4 lengths off a mark of 125. Again, he did that fairly easily, but you've got to take this with a pinch of salt. Is he a 155 rated horse or one, you know, because that's what he's going to have to be to win this race. That means he's got to find another £10 of improvement on top of his rating. On his current rating of 145, he's due to go up a little bit from that, obviously from the run at the weekend. But remains to be seen. I'm just not a believer yet. I think National Hunt Chase for Copperhead will be interesting. Battle over Doyen next in the market has been vying for favouritism for much of the season before his most recent run where he fell behind Fahim when he was beaten. He's 14-1 best price at the moment. That run behind Fahim was over a trip slightly too short for him. I think, again, Battle over Doyen's a bit of a plodder. I don't think he's got much of a turn of foot. He is a galloper. I think the further the better for him. But he was well beaten before falling in that race over 2 miles 5. So you'd have to be a bit suspect there. Perhaps he didn't give his run in. The other concern you have with Battle over Doyen is the travelling over. He didn't handle it well last year in the Ballymore. He pulled up. He didn't look any sort of like the horse that we've seen in Ireland previous to that. So a lot of concerns with Battle over Doyen for me. 14-1 looks about right. Fahim will be very interesting if the 12-year-old comes into this race. Now, I think Fahim going to over the shorter trip would be much better in the Marsh Chase for him. But if he does come to the RSA, I think 14-1's about fair. Now, this horse tends to, let's put our love for the horse aside for one moment. This horse tends to hit a lot of fences. You know, he jumped pretty well at Punchestown when beating Walk Away by 7.5 lengths. Then jumped pretty well to beat Samcro, but it just creeps into his game. He does make mistakes. He was making mistakes over hurdles, and he does it over fences as well. So while we all absolutely adore Fahim and will love him to win a race, I think the Marsh Novice Chase will be a better option for him. Over this 3 miles, he might just get found out because he was very tired when finishing this Leopardstown race off over 2 miles 5 after hitting all those fences. Easy Game was closing him down at the finish, who jumped pretty well throughout the whole of the race. And Faheen's going to come up against better horses than Easy Game in this race. So that would be a slight concern for him. Slate House next in at 16 to 1. He's been a little bit disappointing after a progressive season. He stepped out of novice company last time out at Cheltenham in a Cotswold Chase, taking on Santini and Bristol Demai. Now, he is a horse, Slate House, with a lot of experience, big field handicap experience. So you wouldn't have been too worried about him stepping out of novice company for that sort of race. It's disappointing that he pulled up. They said he was never travelling after the race. It looked like there was an issue there, but he was ultimately well beaten. The race prior to that at Kempton, he beat Blackop by 1 1/4 length, the same distance as the favourite Champ did. But the Kempton Quarter-Star Novice Chase was run at such a slow gallop that it was disappointing that Slate House didn't clear away from the second class once going to the front. He sort of idled a bit, took a slow jump, gave Blackop the opportunity to come back aside. And I don't think that form's going to be anywhere near good enough to win this race. Again, we've just spoken about Blackop twice, so it's important we come on to him. He's 20 to 1 next in the market. Now, I tracked this horse all season because I thought he was going to have a bit of a future for the RSA, but his jumping style and jumping technique, he clips the top of his fences. If you go and watch any of his videos, every time he's jumping a fence almost, his front legs are very low in its fences, and it costs him lengths at its fences. He's got a lovely long stride on him as well, this horse. He could be a huge talent, but over fences, his technique is just not quite good enough. He will lose too much ground at his fences, and that is where I sit with him. He's got a struggle to turn things around with Slate House and with Champ, so I couldn't have Blackop. Easy Game in, we just mentioned a moment ago, behind Faheen. Now, Easy Game is a winner of one of his 2 starts this term. He's had 2 starts over fences. We gave a hurdle spin on return just for fitness. Was behind, finished in front of Aloha, an unfit Aloha by 1 1/4 lengths. Then behind Faheen, half a length. That looks good form. 20 to 1 looks great, but if you go back to the Faheen race, he jumped almost foot perfect Easy Game that day, and he still couldn't catch Faheen. That would just concern me because Faheen made so many mistakes and looked a little bit vulnerable, and really should have, if he's jumping foot perfect, he should have really got to Faheen, but he didn't. Sam Crow next in. We're not even entirely sure Sam Crow's going to come to Cheltenham, but we'll see what happens. He's been nothing but a disappointment. Lovely horse, but just doesn't finish out his races. They might well just go and chuck him in at 3 miles for a first attempt on the rules and just see what happens, really. So he's a risky proposition, but if he does step up, and trip, he would be interesting. Champagne Classic is next in the market at 25 to 1, 5 points bigger than his stablemate Sam Crow. He is a lovely horse, got the hurdle background, graded hurdle form on the background, but is likely to go for the 4 miler. He's head of the market over there. I think he's a really nice horse, and if you fancy him for 4 miler, go for it. Master Tommy Tucker, I don't think quite stays 3 miles. In the Kempton Quarter-Star Novices Chase behind Slate House and Blackop, he fell. He was travelling well enough that day, but again, he's one who has got a fall in him. He's fell now twice in his last 3 starts, so that would just give you a slight concern. He's 33 to 1. 2 for Gold is not going to be good enough. He's 33 to 1. Brahma Ball, Pim, Salsaraya, Animix, all not going to be good enough. Animix has not beaten anything of worthy form to suggest that he is going to be as good as the hype was when he was heading the market for a Supreme Novice favouritism a couple of years back. So that's it. We're out to the big guns who are likely going to go to handicap races or other routes. I think this field's going to cut up. It normally does. Last few years have been smaller fields than recent times. Champ heads the market, and the reason he heads the market, despite everything going wrong this term, is because he has the ability to win this race if everything goes right. So perhaps the fact that everything's gone wrong for him, perhaps one thing's going to go right on this day. I think he's a very talented horse. He's the one I'll be siding with. I will not be changing my mind now. Champ is the one I'm going to be on. You know, live by the sword, die by the sword, if you like. But I think this is a future Gold Cup winner. So Champ for me. But good luck. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's give you a little bit more information. Get on the CheltenhamFestival.net website. We've got a couple more previews coming. It's coming soon. Cheltenham is getting very close.